Hello, beautiful people. My name is Morgan Downey. Some of you may know me as Morgan Burrell, but I'm married now, so it's Morgan Downey. And welcome to the GetMoPhit YouTube channel. So I decided to make this video because I am expanding my health and fitness coaching business into a health and life coaching business. And I figured that if I shared my story, it would give some context, some much needed context on why I'm expanding the business and kind of how I really feel called to do this and how it really just happened naturally. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this all started back in 2015. I was a freshman at Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. I love Spelman. It was just a fantastic experience. I went in and I had a lot of success academically. You know, I was majoring in Spanish and sociology on a pre-law track with the intention of becoming an immigration lawyer. And I really loved, you know, my focus. But one thing that I really struggled with, more on a personal note, was a lot of just insecurities, a lot of just painful past experiences that I had gone through or that were going on while I was in college that really stacked on the emotional baggage that I carried with me every single day. And out of those insecurities and painful experiences came very hard beliefs that all men were trash, that all of them are guilty until proven innocent. And I doubted if I even really wanted to get married. For a while I thought I did, and then I just began to see more and more examples of why I don't think this would be the fate that I want to walk into. I was really bogged down by a lot of those insecurities and experiences that I was seeing and walking out. Although I was often stressed about a lot of emotional things, one way that I kind of coped was through exercise. So I got in the habit of working out during my freshman year. I really had tore my ACL playing basketball a year prior, so I needed to strengthen my knee, but over time it became a habit. So much so that after a few years, maybe I reached my sophomore, junior year probably, a lot of my Spelman sisters were asking me for advice on, what do I do in the gym and how can they get started? So I created the GetMoPhit Instagram page just so when somebody asked me, I could direct them straight to the page. Fast forward to senior year, I'm still struggling with all these insecurities. The emotional baggage has really piled on to this point. However, in October of 2018, my mom was admitted into the hospital. She got really sick. She was having really bad headaches. Now, mind you, she had had cancer since I was in 8th grade. So it was something that, she was dealing with for a long time, but it got really bad during that season of my senior year. So by October, she was in the hospital. By April, she was gone. And that entire time while she was transitioning was, as you can imagine, very, very challenging. And the gym was something that was like my safe haven. That was the place I had to go so I could just not think about everything that was going on. To say the least, I was distraught, okay? I was stressed. I started to pick up a lot of bad habits and coping mechanisms to get through the pain that I was feeling. Although I had the good habit of working out, I was drinking a lot. When I was, going out with my friends, I was smoking a lot. And I was just kind of bopping around, hanging out with guys that really didn't deserve, much of my time to kind of cope. I was down for anything that made me feel happy or made me feel good in the moment because I didn't want to remember my senior year as a horrible time. So I tried to create fun times, or what I considered fun at the time. Fast forward to graduation. I graduate, my mom has just passed, so I'm still going through it, and I decide I want to start training people. So a couple people had inquired about training on the Instagram page, and boom, I'm like, okay, let's try this. Never tried this before, but let's just do it. So I do it, fall in love with it, and it put me in a position where I had a decision to make, where it's okay, you stick with law, this path that you've been on that really causes you a lot of stress, or you become a personal trainer because I was enjoying it so much. It made me feel good. It made others feel good. So I decided to go that route, and I committed to it. Moved back home. I got a personal training internship. I started studying for my certification, and I was doing a lot of like personal development during that time. So a lot of like mindset, motivation, and you know, all the things that made you feel really good. However, I hadn't done any type of internal work to work through a lot of the issues that I had dealing with my mom and then dealing with all of the things before my mom. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh, I'm good. I'm doing this, I'm learning that. I'm feeling good about where I am. My fitness is better than it ever has been. And I even got into a relationship. I'm thinking, oh, I'm good now. However, it was the end of 2020. So, you know, COVID's going on. And I started to notice that I kind of had a habit of like mentally, like I would have one bad thought and then it would like spiral, and it'd be a lot of bad mental thoughts. And, you know, one thing would upset me and then I start thinking about the next thing. And then my life is terrible in about 10 minutes. I've convinced myself throw everything out. So one day I got into an argument with my boyfriend at the time, and I started to spiral. And it led me to a place where I was so desperate to be able to talk to my mom that the thought of suicide crossed my mind. And it wasn't because, you know, I just thought I had to end my life, but it was because I felt like the only way I could talk to her was if I was gone. And that thought alone scared the crap out of me. So from there, I'm like, okay, girl, you need to do something because we're not doing this. We not about to, no. I was aware enough that I knew that I was like spiraling, and I was aware enough that, girl, you need to get a hold of this because this is not it. And if you don't get a hold of it now, it's only going to get worse. So that day I was like committed. I'm like, I will do whatever I need to do, but I have to get better. So from that day on, I committed to truly giving all my problems to God, because I felt like I was carrying so much baggage, so much anger, so much resentment, like just so much that I could no longer carry on my own. So from then on out, the first thing that I started to do was really work on forgiveness, and specifically forgiving my dad, because I felt like I had so much anger built up towards him that I couldn't even properly grieve my mom. So after I started doing that, I watched I watched a sermon series called Forgiveness University with Pastor Michael Todd on YouTube, and that series like changed my life. And I began to get better. I began to change my habits. Yes, I had, you know, the physical fitness habits, and I was reading, and I had the mental habits and all that, but spiritually, I didn't have any habits or grounding that really held me down. And I began to build that in that season, and really realize the importance of holistic health. So although I was totally single and I was committed to being single for as long as it took, it was the end of 2021 where I reconnected with an old friend of mine who I used to talk to in college. His name was Khalil. And we reconnected because he was a photographer and I needed one for my business. I was, you know, still growing GetMoPhit, and I wanted to do a photo shoot, and he offered to do it for free. So he comes up and we do the photo shoot, and it goes fantastic. And then literally from there on out, we talked every single day since we reconnected. And now he's my husband. So everything really happened in a way that allowed me to see and realize how valuable it is to approach your health holistically. Now that I'm married, I'm able to look back and see how much those habits that I was building while I was single have helped me manage and sustain the blessing of marriage that I now have. Not only are my spiritual habits different, where I'm so grounded in God that it's really the foundation that holds my marriage up and together and strong. But along with the mental and emotional habits, the physical habits, all of that is a part of who I am now, to the point where I'm able to see the fruit of those habits in my marriage, and like really walk in those blessings. So I'm saying all of this to just give you context to who I am. So I want to leave y'all with 3 realizations that I had that are really important and honestly life-changing if you get them and really walk in them. So the first one is that one of the main and only things you have control over in this life is the effort and time you put into your health. So you get to decide, am I going to build habits that help me in the long run, or are my habits going to hurt me in the long run? The second realization that I realized over time is that to be truly healthy, you have to approach your health holistically. I was like, oh, I'm healthy because I was going to the gym consistently. But meanwhile, internally, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, I was going through it, okay? And really realizing that if your spirit is not right, that is the deepest, most inner part of your being. So if your spirit isn't healthy, at some point that's going to reflect in other areas of you, because that is the root of you. Number 3, to all my women out there, we set the standard of how others love us based on the standard of how we love God and how we love ourselves. So if you don't love God, if you don't love yourself, you're already kind of off. Not even kind of, you're off. Because God has set a standard that's like the standard. He created love, so he has the answers of what it is. So if your standard of love doesn't match God's, you're not loving yourself in the way God has called us to love ourselves, and you're not loving others the way God has called us to love others, you're not going to receive that most pristine type of love in your life. Lastly, if you're a single woman and you are ready to release those insecurities and those past painful experiences and really focus on your holistic health, click the link below and schedule a discovery call so we can chat about how we could best serve you. I hope this story helps you. Please leave any comments or questions below. I would love to talk to you guys. But yeah, until next time, chew on this, okay? It's a little food for thought. Think about, how are you taking care of yourself holistically, and how can you do a better job, honestly, because there's always room to grow. The goal is to really build a strong foundation of who you are and whose you are, okay? Not for these Negroes out here. All right, that's it. Have a good day.